So first of all, good morning and kudos to Samson Next and Tal. Um, Amazing event, good vibes. Oh, I have this and I have the Madonna. Tal knows that being an entrepreneur, I always have 7 things to do and the decks come last. When we worked and talked about this event, Todd really came up with an amazing idea about all those questions that, even if they're asked, us marketeers usually answer with, that depends. So I think the lineup today is very interesting because we have people that come from more strategic and business-oriented approaches, as well as very hands-on how-tos that will follow. So we really have the whole customer journey for the CEOs and other marketeers around. What I would like to do in a very short time is talk about 3 things. One of them, and these are the buzzwords I would want to use, and give you a little bit a taste of them, of how I work with CEOs and startups that are in their various growth stages. Since we don't have a lot of time and I love talking, if I end up doing the first and talking to you about the eye on the field and give you examples regarding how to reverse engineer your business outcomes and goals into marketing processes and give you a hint about what alignment can truly mean to your business, I'd be very content. My intention is to do that through talking to you about experiences I've had with various companies. And we all like stalking and knowing what other people do, right? So I guess that would work for me and hopefully for you too. First things first, is anyone here from product? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5, 6, 7. So, out. So the first thing I'd like to do, and this is usually how I approach strategic and business challenges, is put product aside. I assume that it's amazing. I assume that everything's working. And I always hear this, once we get this feature ready, then we can launch, right? We've heard that before. Let's talk about the business, and I can assure you that within 10 minutes, I can't assure you. I hope that within 10 minutes, you will rethink your next feature and maybe even focus a little bit more on us marketeers and how we could help. As Tal mentioned before, my previous venture was a SaaS-related company, a platform for word-of-mouth marketing that would enable anyone in the long tail to actually support brands and disseminate messages and create influence. I had an amazing investor. I had a few amazing investors. One of them was extremely amazing. And we had this cool loft up in Ramat HaChayal, that's northern Tel Aviv. I really wanted to have a co-working space. WeWork was just forming and morphing into whatever it is today. So we had this amazing loft with a wine store at the entrance. So this investor would just pop in, he would just come by. I would never know when he's coming in, which is tricky. Make sure that doesn't happen to you guys. But the good news was that he usually stopped at the wine store before. And going from the first major funding round into the second, I remember I didn't really know how to approach that round. I can talk my way into anything, as you can see, but I didn't want to have something substantial to show. And the product was amazing, of course, but I wanted more than that. And I remember him asking me a question somewhere along that middle part of the bottle about what is that slide that you're going to show to investors or be it an M&A process, we can see later that those are relevant here too, that would make a difference, that would move the needle for your audience, for your investors, for whoever it is you really want to sell to. What's going to be there? What are you going to show? This is pretty much what it looks like, right? So when working with various startups, in order to prove that we're amazing and that we're growing and we're on the right track and we should get more funding, we want to show the amazing KPIs of growth, right? And growth is about the number of users that we have, or is it the number of paying users that we manage to convert? And how many MQLs do we have, but what is an MQL? So conversion from MQL to SQL, full contact details into an opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go here forever because we're going to miss the good stuff. So today, working with founders again, and from early stage onwards, there's always that question that I go back to. What is that slide going to look like? What are the top 3 elements that you want to choose that you would want to show investors or whoever it is that you need to make a difference, to make them want to hop on the bandwagon that you're running? So you know what the answer is, right? Founders want it all. They think everything's important. By the way, they're rightfully so. And they'll also want it in an amazing dashboard that when you walk into the office, you see this amazing screen with all these numbers that make everyone feel a bit dizzy, overwhelmed, and very proud of whatever it is they're showing. So first of all, if you want that dashboard, it's easy to do, but you don't really, but that is not what growth is truly about, not when it comes to strategy and to true growth processes. And that's where buzzword number 1 comes in. Baseball, eye on the ball, eye on the field. Well, actually, it's relevant for nearly any ball games. To me, when I talk to the eye on the ball, eye on the field, there is a substantial outcome, and that's my eye on the field, okay? And by the way, it's relevant for anything. It's also relevant to life. Where are we heading? Where is that? Like, when you learn how to drive, a good teacher would say, you see that car over there, that's the one that you want to look on, right? That's not the one right in front of you. So what is that eye on the field, first of all? And right now, again, based on the most of the audience here, I would say that it's either funding or, again, a substantial outcome that we want to create in order to move the needle for our business. Because as Tal mentioned before, and I did as well, I had a startup right before founding Growthonomics, and that wasn't always clear, right? So the eye on the ball, eye on the field was about how will I make an amazing difference. I had amazing successes, mentions, customers, worldwide partnerships, amazing, an amazing team, really cool investors. And I was nearly a platinum for my flight thanks to my flights to New York and London. However, in addition to all those amazing challenges that we faced and a few problems as well, the eye on the field was kind of dizzy for me. Now that, and you know, now I can practice and preach because I have the great experience of entrepreneurship. So before I dig into that, so the amazing thing about the eye on the field, and this is what I would like us to practice for 5 different case studies, is to reverse engineer that and see how marketing can really serve that outcome versus the initial slide I showed you with 5 times 4 different outcomes that we want to measure and could get any marketeer to not have coffee in that cup at 8 o'clock in the morning. Datorama, has anyone heard of them? Datorama was acquired by Salesforce about 2 months ago, I think, a month and a half ago. So in their early stages, and by the way, they're amazing, and you can, and as Tracy mentioned, the team is key, and everyone hears that. You could tell, and I remember the first conversations with them was like 5 years, and this ship is going to sail into a bigger sea, and it was true. It's 5 years, nearly to the day. When I started working with Datorama in their early stages, it was right before the first substantial funding round and right after that towards the second one. And as a marketeer, working with tons of amazing technology gurus that really know what they're doing, it was really hard or challenging to understand where we're going to take this amazing team and company. So there was the website and PR and content and case studies and one person doing marketing with 3 people to assist her. And it was really amazing to see that once I spoke with Ran, the founder, the CEO and founder, and I was able to crystallize what is that goal, what is very important for him for the next step of funding, and that was post $17 million round. It was about the amount of customers. When we understood how that is going to be obtained, it was through an amazing distribution channel that he was building at the time. And what was most important, in addition to it, was like, so website, PR, blah, 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 blah. We ended up reverse engineering the next year in order to obtain the next funding round. And the most important thing was to empower the distributors to get more customers. So as much as it's not that sexy, like creating amazing videos and going on photo shoots and running social media campaigns and all the things that us marketeers love to do and spend money on, that was the most important thing. So once we built an amazing sales kit that could empower any distributor to work with agencies and brands, we could take that content that we've already created once and reuse it for additional purposes. Now, again, there are a few people who run agencies here, and including myself. Reuse content, even though it hurts our business in the numbers, I think it's what really can help companies grow. So once we had an understanding of what's most important for this company for the first year and a half, that is the content we created, and then reused it and created derivatives of that content in order to serve a website, in order to work with PR, in order to create the right case studies and work with conferences, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So resources were very focused on the right thing, and then we expanded from there. Campile was founded about 10 years ago, supported by Carmel Ventures initially. It had an amazing, more than 10 years ago. They were, you know what they did? You remember feedback forms were like in a triangle at the bottom part of a web page, and tell us what you think. That was what Campile was about. Now they had an amazing annual reoccurring revenue in the millions thanks to that little triangle. But guess what? Times are changing. SurveyMonkey appeared and some, and you can't get $40,000 from a company for that little triangle anymore, right? So there was a shift that the company needed to do. And on the other hand, to justify the annual revenues that they were generating versus decrease them. After reverse engineering their objectives and their business objectives that we won't dig into very deeply, what was really important to understand is that we need to justify the MRR that we're getting, increase sales, and again, maintain the revenue. Oh, I have it here. Times are changing. They say don't look down. So the amazing thing was that once we had that clarity and also a very strong understanding of how we want the company, what we want the company to look like within 18 months, which, by the way, within a little bit less than 18 months, the company was acquired by Medallia, who is one of the leading forces for customer experience worldwide, a company that I think their second investment round was about $140 million. So what we did was move the company from being a feedback company into a voice of the customer company. So we're not customer experience, because that's like the big, big, big leagues. And that's what we wanted to engage and connect with in terms of M&A. So we took one step prior to being the full customer experience suite into voice of customer, and built our whole marketing collateral around that. By the way, with them, an amazing thing to do is not just create collateral, but rather take the collateral and the messages you want to create and help your audience reach their understandings and their how to shines through your content. But that's a different talk. The Fairfly, we have 2 more to go. This is stalking. Fairfly is a company that helps product company that helps people get more out of the money they spend on traveling, pretty much. And when I engaged with them initially, they were prior to the second funding round, and what they needed to do was proof that the market is ready and that they have the answer. Once we reverse engineered the whole process of what would that slide look like when they're going to get their initial funding round, then we understood that we needed to check the audience and run various campaigns to see who's really biting and who's engaging and what customer journey is and will end up with whatever KPI it is that they had. Funny enough, the initial hunch I had ended up being very true, and we moved from being a B2C company into a B2B company, so I was even more psyched. Como? Como used to be Conduit, a very amazing half-tech company in 2012, 2013. It was acquired and then reinvented itself as a B2B company for small, medium businesses. Their challenge was different. They decided that since they're going into the SMB world, they're going to create amazing distribution partners worldwide and sell like crazy. So, bless you, the amount of distribution partners they ended up engaging, and by the way, once you have clarity and you want to do something, you barge, and that's what they did. So within, I think around 4 months, they had over 20 distribution partners in Europe, which sounds amazing, right? However, I won't disclose the amount of sales that they had. And another thing that they had there in their business model is that the customer only pays once they implement the product through a distribution channel. So we had a very, 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 the objective that marketing needed to serve and the growth hack we needed to find was how to turn those distribution channels and resources they had into real customers and preferably paying ones. And that was a marketing challenge we could have addressed, and not through building another website or creating marketing automation and email campaigns, because again, if you're working with distributors, you need to find a way to hack, and it's possible, and make sure that their databases are more available to you. And I didn't say that, so you can take that part off. One of my favorite up-and-coming, Silverback. Silverback, I've had an amazing partner that became, again, their distribution partner. They work with enterprises that have growing online e-commerce platforms to mobilize, and their partner, the distribution partner, and that they had, a strategic one, said, well, you know what, I have this amazing show coming up in Paris, and just, you pay about $20,000, $25,000, and I'll have your logo posted on the notebooks that everyone gets, and you can also host a lunch. And like, these guys raised $1.5 million or so, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take $25,000 and put them on notebooks. Let's make stickers, right? So what we did there was, since we were their partners, we had the pre-Miracle Summit. So everyone's coming to Paris. All these amazing brands are coming to Paris. We invited them to a pre-summit workshop. It costs us less than $10,000 to get an amazing spot in the middle of Paris with the best catering, blah, 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 T-shirts, caps, etc. Amazing content. We didn't talk about product, didn't offer a demo once, and someone here will be able to tell you the rest of the story, but within 2.5 hours, people started saying, but what about the demo? Can we see the product? Okay, so we had 30 companies join our pipeline, engaged, and really connected with the amazing value that we could offer them. So that is building the pipeline. Tal here is making faces, so I won't keep going into the rest of the amazing case studies I prepared for you today. But I think that most important for me to really wrap everything up and say, ask yourself, what is that number one figure you want to show that would make people invest? Invest in you means becoming your customer, funding, want that company to be part of their portfolio, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and reverse engineer from there. Anything else is noise, okay? One more thing, a sentence I love. And remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And when you reverse engineer that, you make sure that hope is not a strategy. Good luck.